Texans need wide receivers. We also know that you're a little strapped on cash as the Texans organization is right now. Wide receivers are pretty expensive in this free agent market in terms of the top end value guys. But that Josh Palmer video got me thinking more and more that maybe being thrifty isn't so bad. What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to a brand new episode of TheLead Houston, where it's all Houston all the time. You won't find anybody with more passion speaking about your favorite Houston sports teams than this guy right here. Astros, Rockets, Texans. I try to do it all. So go down in the comment section. Let me know, how are y'all feeling, first of all, about being thrifty, being bargain bin shopping, being a little frugal with your money, okay? Trying to make sure that you don't spend it all in one place. And the Houston Texans, as we all know, need wide receivers, plural, because as currently constructed, as we all know, Nico Collins is really the only guy you got. All right, Xavier Hutchinson, John Metch, I appreciate what y'all done for me, but ultimately, it is what it is, and it's not very good. Okay, very below average wide receiver play and production from them two specifically, and they've had their opportunities to show the Houston Texans, D'Amico Ryans and company, that they could maybe have something in there. We haven't seen anything from it besides a random catch from Xavier Hutchinson, one of them being in the playoff game. Thank you. And John Mechie's Detroit Lions first half. That's it. The Texans are going to be scrapping for wide receivers, and the top end of the market's pretty expensive. You're not expecting them to go get a T. Higgins, even Chris Godwin. And I know a lot of fans love that video I just posted of Chris Godwin. You can check it out down below. Just scroll on my YouTube channel. But it's going to be costly, and the Houston Texans have a lot of other needs as well, not only on the offense, but maybe solve some depth issues on the defensive side of the ball, considering you got a lot of free agents on the depth side of that. So the Texans, they need to go into the wide receiver department, and I think getting tier 2 guys is no problem with it. You can even double dip into that market, and it still shouldn't shy you away from even still considering drafting a wide receiver day one if somebody like an Emeka Egbuka is there at 25. Even Matthew Golden, I would not mind either. One of them kind of caliber wide receivers that is available. The Texans should not be shying away from that, even if they grabbed 3 guys that I currently have. And the Houston Texans should be taking a look at. Got 3 guys that are thrifty, 3 guys that you can spend your money and be fine with not overspending. So we got 3 guys. I'm going to go ahead and go one by one. The first guy I have on this list is Darius Slayton. The former New York Giant is a free agent currently. The man, and yes, I write down notes. The man is 28 years old. He's 6'1", 210. Darius Slayton would be a very solid fit here in Houston. Unfortunately, only like 37 catches for him this previous year. He hasn't had that really great year since his rookie year, where he had almost 8 touchdowns his rookie year. But after that year, it just hasn't been very good for him. But when I looked at these wide receivers, I looked at wide receivers that they have the potential to be really good wide receivers, but their quarterback play is extremely lacking. Darius Slayton fits in that category. When you see him and you watch him play, you can tell this man could be a really good wide receiver. But then you look at, there's a quarterback problem there, and it's Daniel Jones. He's played with Daniel Jones, Tommy DeVito, and Drew Lock during his time between 2019 all the way up to today. Darius Slayton, as much as I would love Darius Slayton and I want him to be a Houston Texan, his agent is David Mulugeta, and currently he's making about $6 million this year. But when he's on that open market, according to Spotrac, they got his market value around $15.8 million. That is what Spotrac currently has them in market value. And they compared him to other receivers like Terry McLaurin and Calvin Ridley, and his numbers just don't compare to those guys. I don't know where they got that market value from for Darius Slayton. I would be shocked to see somebody give him 16 million, and if they are, by all means go for it, because if I'm paying 16 million for a receiver, I might as well just add 4 more million on top of it and go give me Chris Godwin. So Darius Slayton, I don't think is going to get that kind of money. I still feel like you could get him around that 8 to $10 million range. Again, he's currently making 6 million. He just had 37 catches. As good as he looks on the field, and with better quarterback play, could inject those stats into a different stratosphere with CJ Stroud. I'm not giving him 16 million. So Darius Slayton, I'm going to throw him into this category of bargain bin thrifty guys. But the next two guys are for sure very frugal with your money, penny pinching kind of wide receivers, because the next guy I got on the list is Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is the wide receiver with the Cleveland Browns. He's 24 years old. He is 5'10", 180. Now, yeah, the size is a little short for some, but ultimately Elijah Moore is still only 24 years old. If anybody remembers Elijah Moore, he got drafted by the New York Jets many years ago, 4 years ago, and he started complaining about the targets that he wasn't getting. So he ends up going to Cleveland. And the last 2 years in Cleveland, he's had 100 targets each of those years. And he's had some solid years for Cleveland. You're looking at a guy that's had 500 and then the 600-yard receiving yards, 500 in 2023, 600 receiving yards in 2024. So Elijah Moore has put up some good numbers for the Cleveland Browns, even with his target share. Now, one problem with Elijah Moore is the drops. Now, the drops could have been increased because of his increase in targets, because his drop percentage is a bit high. So who knows? But Elijah Moore consistently works out of the slot, doesn't scare you away from drafting another receiver for Nico Collins. And you can even double dip because he's not going to be that expensive. He hasn't had any injuries too much. The only thing that did worry me is he's had 3 concussions in the last 4 years. That's something to keep an eye on with Elijah Moore. But his market value on Spotrac was right at $4.5 million. You're telling me I can get a guy that successfully works out of the slot at $4.5 million? Elijah Moore reminds me, and I know a lot of Texans fans are going to go, I remember that guy. He reminds me of Bruce Ellington. And I'm not saying Bruce Ellington was, a very good wide receiver. He wasn't. But whenever he got here to Houston with Deshaun Watson, he started cooking. He started looking very good, and you had the ability with him to pop the top off defense many times with a Bruce Ellington. I could see something similar here with Elijah Moore, Nick Caley, and CJ Stroud, who would be his first legitimate quarterback that is throwing to him. Again, his quarterbacks is horrible. Zach Wilson, Mike White, Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Jameis Winston. It is not pretty for Elijah Moore. He has never had a quarterback that has been in the top 15 discussion at any point of their career when he landed there. Maybe Deshaun Watson's first year, just because a lot of people didn't know he was going to take that much of a dip. But ultimately, Elijah Moore has never had a quarterback to play with, and CJ Stroud could be that guy. With Nick Caley, a lot of pre-snap motioning, Elijah Moore just makes a lot of sense here for Houston in a cheap option. Would not mind it at all. And then the third guy I have, and I think my second favorite on this list behind Elijah Moore. I'm a big fan of Elijah Moore. I liked him in college, maybe a little biased, but Nick Westbrook-Ikhine from the Tennessee Titans, 6'2", 211. He was undrafted, 27 years old. And I mean, he falls into the same category of a wide receiver that plays very good when he's on the field, but he has been being held back by the lack of quarterback play. The man has 19 touchdowns in his career. 9 of them happened this year. He had 9 touchdowns this year. Think about the Tennessee Titans. We know them very well. And think about the quarterbacks they had this year. Not only Will Levis, but Mason Rudolph. And he still had 9 touchdowns. That is very impressive. Now, I don't know if the Titans are going to be looking to keep him back, considering that Tyler Boyd is also an unrestricted free agent. Not sure what Brian Callahan's going to do there. I know Brian Callahan has a relationship with Tyler Boyd because of the Cincinnati Bengals. Callahan was the former OC over there, so we'll see if he wants to bring back Tyler Boyd or not. Not sure if even Boyd had a good season. Didn't really look it up. But Westbrook-Ikhine, I know, at 6'2", 211, does work, and he would be magnificent here with finally a good quarterback in his career in CJ Stroud. And even though they had Ryan Tannehill and he was underneath Tannehill and Tannehill had some good years, they were predominantly a run-heavy team. Westbrook-Ikhine, I think, could be doing some really good stuff here in Houston. He's a willing blocker. Feels like he fits that scheme and need that Nick Caley is looking for. And you can line him up on the slot. You can line him up outside because of his height. He has some flexibility at wide receiver. Would not mind Westbrook-Ikhine to be landing here in Houston. And then when you look at the Spotrac market value, when you Google him, he's currently making $2 million, but they only got him slated to make $4 million in market value. Now, we don't know how accurate these are, but that's just their projections. And ultimately, a guy at $4 million, you can get him maybe for 2 years at $10 million, and you give him 5 a year. That's not so bad. You can even double dip with Elijah Moore and Westbrook-Ikhine and still draft another wide receiver. And I'd be ecstatic for this Texans wide receiver group. But I would not mind getting one of these 3 guys, Darius Slayton, Elijah Moore, or Nick Westbrook-Ikhine. One of them 3 guys, I would not be upset if the Houston Texans decided to take a more frugal, thrifty, bargain bin route in terms of the wide receiver group. Let me know down in the comments section. How do you feel? Do you want the Texans to take this kind of route? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you want them to spend a lot of money at wide receiver? Y'all let me know down in the comment section. You know I'll reply. As always, guys, go Astros, go Rockets, go Texans. You have a blessed day.